Well, joining us now in the studio to discuss more about climate change is Morris Koffa, founder and CEO of Africa Environment Watch, a non-profit, non-governmental organization that advocates for environmental management toward national sustainability. We welcome you back to our show, Mr. Koffa.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Now, obviously, there's this big conference taking place in Durban. The word climate change is just all over the place. From your experience, generally, are people clear about what climate change means in Africa?
I think by now it's very clear to the entire global community the whole issue that has been developed around climate change, which of course have made Africa the single continent that is being impacted most. So COP17 taking place now in Durban, South Africa, is a critical change for Africa if it succeeds. If it fails, then again we have to go back to the drawing table, as has been the Kyoto Protocol, which of course is at the point to phase out.
Right.
And so this conference, the African group, is looking up to this conference to deliver some deliverables that have not been the case since the inception of the Kyoto Protocol.
Let's talk specifically about these deliverables. What are we talking about?
The deliverable Africa wants, or at least from the African group that represent the 53 African countries in the continent, is the one of balance where honest deliverable from the industrialized countries that have been solely responsible for emitting a huge amount of the greenhouse gas. Africa only emits less than 4% of the total greenhouse gas that trap into our atmosphere. But yet the continent is suffering from over 85 to, or between 65 to 70% of the impact from the industrialized country.
And,
so
and the impact is being translated into drought and extreme weather patterns, etc.
Absolutely, which create serious food security, water scarcity, drought, suffering, proliferations of diseases, and there's so many things that happened as a result of that. And so the African group are saying to the industrialized country, come to the table with some level of honesty. Let's have some legal binding. Give us some mitigation program. Provide technology. Give us the finance so that we can create some high level of adaptation for our people to reduce food, to produce more food for our people. Make sure that we reduce the impact of climate change that is having much impact on our people.
And as you just said, 4% only is what Africa emits of these greenhouse gas emissions, but yet it's suffering such extensively from what is coming from the West.
That's right.
What realistically is a good solution right now for Africa in terms of trying to curb the impact? Outside the funding that the African group is calling on the West to provide, what can be done really to stop it on the continent?
I think South Africa has taken a very good stand to at least reduce their impact by 15%, because South Africa, of that less than 4% that Africa contribute, 90% of that is being contributed by South Africa and Nigeria. And South Africa have taken a stand, a non-binding commitment to reduce by 15% by 2020, which is very good significant. If South Africa can make this commitment, then of course the industrialized country that are responsible for bulk of the emission should be able to come out to that same level of commitment. The problem have always been not legal binding of all of these treaty and agreement that deals with the reduction of the emission.
Now, when you have the U.S. tabled the worst emitter of gas emissions that is causing this climate change, not signing any or not taking any responsibility really legally, how do you really now, who do you hold accountable and how is it addressed, China included?
That is a very good question, and Africa is at the mercy of these industrialized countries, because these are powerful countries that actually control the entire economy of the world, the global economy. And so when there is not a legal, instrument to force these countries to meet their commitment, then Africa just remains at the mercy. And this has been the case all around. And this is why the African group are insisting that this time around we need a balanced commitment that will be legally binding to make sure that you give us those things that are needed, technology, the finance, so that we can carry on massive training to create a well robust mitigation program to help our people.
And I'm sure your organization is in the forefront of pushing for more changes. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Koffa, for joining us. Now, Morris Koffa is the CEO and Executive Director of Africa Environmental Watch. He joins us here today.